Welcome back, dreamers. Your host Ken here with some exciting news that I just couldn't wait to share. Somewhere in Dreamland now has an amazing new merch store filled with custom Somewhere in Dreamland hoodies, t-shirts, coffee mugs, pint glasses, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Why not hop on over to dreamlandpodcast.weebly.com and grab yourself or someone else some custom Dreamland gear now.
Danser avec moi. Tu cordonnier, tu fêtes, qu'est-ce que t'as donc dans la tête? C'est que moi.
Welcome back, dreamers. Tonight, my guests are Doug and Jane Anderson. Doug and Jane are the founders and the driving force behind City Paranormal in Wilmington, North Carolina. Since 2004, this incredible couple has been using advanced scientific methods along with unbiased observations and strict protocols to try and both uncover and understand the continuation of consciousness after death. So without further ado, grab your blankets, turn down the lights, get comfy, and let's fade away into
Dreamland.
And how are you guys doing?
We're great.
Doing great.
Good deal. So you guys run Port City Paranormal out of Wilmington, North Carolina, right?
Sure do.
That's correct.
Yeah, I stumbled upon your, I believe it was your Facebook page, and it led me down a whole rabbit hole. And
That's my doing.
yeah, that's what I like to do. I like jumping right down those rabbit holes and seeing what I can find. So, lo and behold, here we are. I'm talking with you guys tonight.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. So I want to start off by saying that the website is amazing. It's beautiful. It flows really, really nice. I like the way everything is set up. You guys kind of lay it out there, nice and simple. No craziness to it. And I can say that I truly appreciate that.
Well, I'm glad you like it. I worry about that every day.
Is that your doing?
Well, actually, I got somebody to help me with it because the EVPs wouldn't play on mine. So I decided to go ahead and try a company to help me.
The basic setup is Jane's. She took over for me when I first tried to set up a site, and it was ridiculously stupid.
The process alone is ridiculously stupid.
Yeah.
But then Jane took it over, and it just took off.
I like pretty pictures.
I'll tell you, it's very clean, clear cut, and I like it because you get sometimes, like I said, I like jumping down those rabbit holes, and sometimes you jump right into a pile of rabbit something when you do, and it's not the case with your site. Your site's very precise and to the point, and I really like it. It's really nice.
Well, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, we do appreciate that.
It's easy to find, www.portcityparanormal.com.
Yep, and there is plenty of holes to dig there too. You can jump through about as many hoops on your site as you want because you guys lay your evidence out there. One of the things that I noticed that I really enjoyed was that with some of your case studies, and I like that you call them case studies. I like that you have floor plans to some of these places laid out so that it kind of puts you in the place.
Important.
It is.
Yeah. We have all sorts of rules and regulations that we follow so we can get the best, how do you say that, best information?
Best evidence.
Yeah.
Jane has set up these grids for just about every place that we go to to keep, we usually break up into smaller teams. And so Jane sets up these grids so our investigators aren't close to each other and don't contaminate each other's evidence.
Yeah, very important for sure. Let's take a few steps back. So how long have you guys been in the research and investigation field of the paranormal?
Formally,
I think we call it 17 years.
Okay.
I think it's the same year that TAPS had their first show on TV.
Oh, yeah.
And it kind of spurred us on because, we both had experienced things in our younger days. So we wanted to learn more, and the emphasis on learn. We contacted a bunch of groups and nobody ever
crickets
called us back or emailed us back. So Jane and I just said, we'll do it ourselves.
But Doug did drive all the way up to, where is it? Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. I took a class with TAPS.
Okay.
That was the last TAPS we had.
Yeah, well, they sort of sent us in the right direction, which was good. But everything that we've done since is totally our own.
Okay. And what you guys said you had personal experiences that I'm assuming probably got you interested in the paranormal to begin with. What were those like for you guys? Like what kind of experiences were they?
Well, I had seen a shadow person when I was a kid. And it was really odd, but I also lived in 2 haunted apartments in New York City. So that kind of gets your
interest
up. Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely.
How about you, Jen?
Yeah. Well, when I was a little kid, I heard voices. I heard my mother calling me often. And so I'd run upstairs and say, "What you want?" And she says, I didn't call you. Where were you? I said, I was in the basement. And she says, "Be careful. Don't play near the heater hop," because it had a pilot light on it. And I would see things. And then I had dreams that I would be flying.
Oh.
And I asked people, I said, "Do you ever fly in your dreams?" They looked at me like I was crazy. But now I found out that, it's not crazy.
So let me tell you something that's very interesting. And I love that you just said that. So I had similar experiences when I was a kid with hearing voices. And I remember I'd do the same thing. I'd come out and, "What do you want? What do you want?" And they were like, "What do you mean?" And then my mom, she would always say, I'd say, "I heard somebody." And she'd say, "Oh, it's nothing." Well, then one day she came in my room and said, "What do you want?" "Well, what's going on in here?" And I'm like, "Nothing. Why? I'm just sitting here like reading a book." And she says, "No, you were screaming." And I said, "No, I wasn't. I was sitting here reading a book." So that got her freaked out a little bit, But going back a little bit further from that, when I was a kid, 5, 6 years old, I remember being able to make myself float. And I could float all the way up to the ceiling. And one time I got stuck on the ceiling, and I'll never forget it because my brother witnessed the whole thing, my younger brother, and it freaked him out too. And I never
saw you?
Yes, I never tried it again after that, but I would have dreams that I was floating. I still have dreams that I float sometimes, and it's
great.
Just strange. Yeah,
aren't they great dreams?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. They're really cool. They're really cool. But so then you guys got smart and you moved down south where it's nice and warm, and that's that, right?
Oh, my mom was from here.
Oh, was she?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we actually live in my mom and dad's house now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I moved to Greensboro, then Winston-Salem, and then to Wilmington, where I met Jane. And as soon as we met, we decided we were meant for each other because we both liked the paranormal.
You can't just bump into somebody on the street and start saying, well, I like ghosts and stuff. They usually, that's your last date. But that was the first of many.
That's really cool. That's really neat. So, how many investigations would you say you guys have done as a group so far?
Oh, God.
I don't know, maybe a couple hundred.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's actually really a really good ratio, I think. With that many years doing a couple of hundred, I talk to people and I ask them, hey, how many investigations have you done? And they've been around for a year and a half, and they're like, oh, I did 900. And I'm like, come on. Yeah. How do you even properly investigate when you're doing 900 investigations in a year and a half? I don't get it. And I saw on your website you have Investigate the Investigator program.
Yes.
And that really kind of rang home for me. Like I saw that and I was like, huh. Yeah, well, they're speaking my lingo now, because that's exactly what I think on some of those points,
Yeah, we had to learn the hard way. And then the rest, it was common sense.
Yeah, well, so many people who come to us eventually have had other investigators stick their nose in their haunting and really make a mess of things.
From these psychic witches.
And charging
oh, God.
high dollars for investigations and then a house cleansing.
Oh, that cost extra.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it probably doesn't do a damn thing, does it?
No, it doesn't. All it might do is piss the ghost off.
Yep.
No, we've done that.
Yeah. That's, I want to hear about some of those cases where you guys do that.
Where do you want to start?
We've been all over. We've investigated from South Carolina into upstate New York, Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've been to a bunch of, what you call public venues, like Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in West Virginia, couple of asylums in upstate New York, and one in Virginia. And now asylums everyone we've been to has been quite active.
I wonder what the correlation is there. I wonder why those always seem to be more active. Maybe it's just because of the high emotional strain that was going on in there.
Yeah.
Well, that, and you think of a lot of these people were really totally and completely confused, and they might not know how to pass on.
Mm-hmm.
And they just kind of get lost in the sauce. And when somebody shows up, they want to talk to you. We went to a place in upstate New York that had only been investigated once by another team. And I won't mention their name because they were a TV team.
And they ran like rabbits.
It wasn't TAPS, okay? I'll tell you that much. But
it's probably my other favorite team that I
no, it wasn't Zach Baggins.
Oh, I hate it. Listen, I've never wanted to beat anybody up more in my whole entire life than Zach Baggins. I'm
Pull
not
your
joking.
pants up. Yeah.
Like, this guy tries to fight ghosts. He literally tries to fight them. I'm like, man.
He's an idiot.
And then he screams like a girl when he gets scratched. So
Yeah. I don't know how many times. I'll call him out right here. I'll fight that dude. I can't stand him, man.
I think we had a lot of luck because I've been a nurse for all my life, too many years, and Doug's in the hospital setting too, and learned how to talk to strangers, and I've learned how to get information out of them. And we're always very polite. We treat them like somebody we wanted to meet, and sat down with coffee and talked.
Yeah.
You just, you talk like any conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we ask too many questions, and I'm sure that may annoy them after a while. I've noticed that at the beginning of investigations, we get a lot more EVP and information. By the end of the night, I think they're sick and tired of us, and they just shut up.
Yeah. So Can you guys kind of walk me through like just a quick form of what your investigation consists of, from like the point where, say, somebody calls you and says they think they have an issue and weird stuff's going on? What do you guys do from there?
Well, they usually call me, and I sit down on the phone and talk to them for a while. But basically, I try to get their name, address, or at least the town they're in, and phone number. And then I have a list of questions I can ask. But I don't want to get too detailed on the phone, because then they'll want to, I can't remember all that to put in. I start a file on these people, and then I send them our form that has 47 dumb questions in it. Some of them are the same, but backwards, But we ask them what's been going on and how have you reacted to it. And then I pack it up and give it to Doug.
And what I start doing is I start doing some online research into the property. Yes, we do kind of check up on the homeowners because we have run into problems with people that weren't exactly good folks.
Yeah.
And we just like to find the history, the background, and what's surrounding their house, because there's all sorts of things that can affect them, like transmission towers, power towers, all sorts of things like that. We look
investigate
into it.
The environment.
We do a thorough investigation, and that usually happens even before they send back the form.
Okay. You mentioned on that form that, you ask some questions and some of them are backwards. And that's a psychology thing. How important do you think psychology is while maybe questioning or even investigating?
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Because the more you talk and the more you rephrase your questions, sometimes you get different answers or you get more information that way.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I don't know.
Yeah. And at times, Jane has actually caught them telling her untruths.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, we end all connection with the
yeah, we hate to do
person.
that to people, but, we're not Ghostbusters.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that could also lead you down a more narrow road too, because you don't know what you're getting into. If somebody has a problem, they come to you with a problem, but they aren't going to be 100% honest with you in the beginning, then
you can't help them.
Yeah. I mean, how can you, like, I know I talked with a really, really famous investigator. And he told me one time that, when you're going into cases, you have to investigate the person first, just like you said. But he said you would be surprised how many people are either on drugs or, or on, they're staying up until 4 or 5 drinking all night. And then they just happen to see a ghost when it probably isn't a ghost. It's probably themselves saying, go to sleep, man. Like it's, yeah. So
they're dreaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and I think it's very important that is implemented into an investigation. And I think, like you said, I think it's 100% important.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that you guys are both in the medical field, and I don't know if you know this, but there are a lot of investigators that are in the medical field. Right. And I think that's, I find that fascinating because I think that says a lot. If somebody's around an environment where they're seeing death or death is around them, or
chemotherapy ward.
Yeah.
I mean, you could feel them die and leave the room. Sometimes they wouldn't leave the room, but most of the time they did. And if I was alone with the person, they had no family, I would tell them to look for their grandfather or their mother who's passed or something. Think about your favorite dog. He'll come get you because you're sending out a call to help me pass, help me cross over.
Right.
Yeah, I've got lucky.
My wife is in the medical field as well. And, it takes a certain type of person to be in that field to begin with. A very empathetic person, I believe.
Exactly.
And I think that just goes hand in hand with the paranormal field, because I think that if you're an empathetic person and you're investigating the paranormal, you're going to get better results.
Open.
That's absolutely correct. We've been to locations that other people have gone to and gotten no evidence or
One EVP.
very minimal evidence. And we walk out of there with a boatload. They want to talk to us. They want to communicate with us. And that's especially true of the USS North Carolina here in Wilmington. Those guys on the ship, I've investigated that ship 30 times. And they've come to know Jane and my name. We know their voices. That's the thing, it's a friendship or a softness, a communication that goes on. And then all of a sudden they respond. Be kind, be gentle.
Yeah, I talked with another investigator recently who pretty much said the same thing you did. He said, it's you go in, it's about your approach, it's about your feeling when you go in, and then it's about once you're there, then it's about establishing a bridge of communication.
Right.
Exactly.
They see what's in your heart, and if you're just there for fun and games, they're not going to mess with you.
Well, I hope they scare your buddy Zach Baggins out of the business, because that would be.
I doubt that. I doubt that.
It is entertaining, but it just.
I can't stand it.
I can't either. I really can't.
It's just too irritating to watch.
Yeah.
I agree. It's like a joke, it really is. But sometimes, like, one of my kids will have it on, and I'll walk in the room and he'll say something, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this guy, like, what is he doing?
Where does he come from?
Yeah, I expect him to show up with a clown nose on one day.
That's Hollywood for you.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem. That's why Doug and I don't know how many times we've been asked if we were interested in doing something. We did do, what was it? My Ghost Story?
My Ghost Story.
That taught us a lesson.
Never, ever do that again.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to hear the truth. They want to hear exciting things and scary things.
Weren't you scared? No.
No.
Yeah, they want all the juicy details, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, in the green room or whatever they call it, they offered us alcohol to drink 10 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, wow. Well, sign me up. That sounds like a plan for me. I'll do it.
Yeah,
Free drinks.
I was getting into trouble with the director and floor producer because I kept rolling my eyes at the stupid questions they were asking.
Well, you can find that on our website somewhere.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to look for that. I'd like to see that.
It's awful.
I was so embarrassed.
Well, lessons learned, right?
Yeah.
The thing is that we actually had a little film that was done by the UNCW film students some years back. It was so well done. And it was actually more professional than the TV shows.
Wow. Isn't that something?
Yeah. That's
we've had
sad.
a couple of those students to come over here, but this one group, the first one, was just outstanding.
Awesome.
And they have some kind of ghost program over at the college here. I don't know what it is.
They won't talk to us.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I wonder why.
I don't know. Maybe we're scary?
Well, maybe because we might laugh at them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you might try to discredit them.
Well, yeah, if you say that, well, really look at it, could be seen this way or you're wrong, which we try not to say. But we did have the instructor come talk to us one time. He was a real ball.
Yeah. There are so many groups that have popped up here in Wilmington and then fell off the face of the earth. got into trouble for faking evidence. And then they just disappear after a while.
Well, they were called out on it. Yeah, there's so much evidence to be had at some of these places that why try to fake it? I just don't get that.
Well, I think part of that is they don't know what they're doing. They're looking for that quick little bit of fame. They're not doing things properly. And it's like it's easy to start an investigation team. It's easy to go out and investigate things. It's actually not as easy to find real evidence and do things the right way.
Well, it's also difficult to find really good investigators. We have been blessed with some of the best people you could ever want to meet. Tony Hall.
Oh, he's been with us since the beginning.
Pretty much since 2009. Becky Bukowski, unfortunately, she has passed away. We have had some really great investigators that really like doing this and do all the work that is needed to gain evidence. Listening to hours and hours of audio and looking at video until your eyes cross, but they're dedicated.
Yeah.
We love them.
That's the first thing I ask is, will you do the work? And they think, okay, yeah, I can go. And they go to one place, and we don't take them on new investigations of private homes and stuff, but they do one thing and we never hear from them again. They just wanted the thrill.
Well, we did bring one guy who was new to an investigation at a private house, and stuff happened, and we never saw him again. He just went, woof.
Yeah.
Scared him away.
He wouldn't answer the phone.
Well, I brought my boss onto Battleship, and we were all sitting against one of the bulkheads, and all of a sudden I see her hair. She had long blonde hair, and you see this hunk of hair just kind of raising up behind her head. And I'm looking like, Sheila. Oh, well, she never came again either.
Yeah, she was one and done too.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do have fun.
Some people just aren't cut out for it.
No. They're curious.
Yeah.
And then when stuff goes down, they let me out of here. I don't want to be here anymore. You got a good investigator when crazy stuff starts happening and they sit there and go, wow, that's cool.
You don't have to use duct tape on their mouth either. Yeah, it's called the duct tape protocol.
Yes.
You guys have about 9 deep, right? In investigators.
They come and go.
Very soon.
Yeah, unfortunately, some of our best investigators have had to move to other towns. Dina ended up in far reaches of North Carolina, and one's in Germany now. And so, people have to live their own life, and we respect that. And so, we have to keep digging every once in a while, but we have a small team now.
Yeah, it's better with a small team. You don't have to please, I didn't get to go on that investigation.
It's a very tight team,
Okay.
and we all like each other.
Yeah.
Now, what kind of equipment do you guys utilize when you go into an investigation?
Go, Doug.
I'm the tech guy. It's pretty simple. We use voice recorders. Everybody has a voice recorder. We've been modifying our approach with those so we get clear audio. So Tony kind of set up the way where we put our recorders on our arms with a strap, and he had a microphone that he bent away from his clothing so it was quiet.
Mm-hmm.
We use, Jane and I use clip-on microphones, and we clip it to the top of our hats. Let's see. We use IR cameras, but not necessarily, we don't do total darkness.
No, we like dim lighting.
But the IR lights work well for dim light. And we have all sorts of cameras. I've developed some little portable cameras that will record for upwards of 12 to 14 hours.
Wow.
We got to update our equipment on the
We have, a full selection of EMF meters. Nothing with a lot of bells and whistles on it.
We don't do the flashlight trick.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Some
don't
people
do
do.
that.
Yeah.
We don't use a lot of toys. These things that beep, boop, jump in the air and do stuff like that. We're more interested in hearing the voices. The video, gosh, we have had thousands of hours of video and very little to show for it. But in those thousands of hours, we do have a lot of audio recordings. So to me, EVP is the goal, the holy grail.
Mm-hmm. Well, video and still pictures of the Holy Grail, but holy cow. We've caught some amazing things.
Yeah.
Sharp, clear voices.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that we have been doing, and I've been doing for years, and a lot of people don't know about this, when they run around with a video recorder in their hand and they're videoing, and they don't realize that the audio on their video is catching EVP.
Mm-hmm.
And you can strip that audio off and put it in a sound file and analyze that. And I've gotten a ton of EVP off of the handheld cameras.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think we've trimmed down our equipment from a whole truckload to
Oh my gosh.
a couple bags.
Yeah,
with
we
the
used to
essentials.
set up all these cameras, and we had, it took forever for us to set up, especially in larger places. I think that just having your mind, your eyes, your ears, maybe a camera or two, and your audio, and you're good to go.
I think your best tool is your head.
Yeah.
I learned that from Lloyd Auerbach.
Some people think that EMF meters are ghost finders.
Mm-mm.
And clients sometimes go, are you looking for ghosts when you're measuring? And I just start laughing and say, no, this is not a ghost finder. I just want to see what's irritating you.
Have you guys ever tried messed around with the Estes method or anything like that?
Estes method.
That's from Wimbridge Institute.
Oh, no. No, and we also have a problem with Ghostbox.
Okay.
Basically because people take one-word answers off of the Ghostbox, and that's ridiculous because it could be just one station that you're picking that word up from. It's got to be a whole sentence, and the voice has to sound the same throughout the whole sentence, which is extremely rare. Plus, we found out something very interesting, is that we were in Virginia Beach, and I caught, we were using a ghost box. This was some years ago. And we get a voice comes through and says, "Hey, Doug."
Oh, wow.
And I said, "Oh, where do you know me from?" "The Battleship." And I said, where on the battleship? He said, the wardroom. And that was pretty much the end of the conversation because my jaw dropped down.
Yeah, no joke.
Yeah.
So the thing is that here you are in Virginia Beach and you're getting information from Wilmington. So how many of the responses are you getting that have no correlation or pertinence to the investigation you're doing?
Yeah.
So how can you trust it?
Yeah, we did find with the one case we went out in the woods of North Carolina somewhere, and this girl said she had a problem with ghosts, and so we set up cameras and recorders, and I'm talking to her and trying to get some information from her, like how she's been, what has the ghost been doing or whatever, and I'm going to lose my train of thought for a minute. Oh, that's right. We actually recorded the husband saying something quite nasty while we were interviewing. Like, I'd ask her a question and the husband would think something. I saw him. He was scribbling on a piece of paper and just about ripping it. And how do you put this? We heard his voice.
Yeah.
When he didn't speak while we were there, his voice was on the recorder answering the question snidely.
Wow.
It was weird.
Well, saying things like, I don't like you. I don't want you here.
Mm-hmm.
And
we don't get along.
We don't get along. Things like that. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah. No, he was a piece of work in the first place.
So, yes, we can imprint our own thoughts onto a recorder. It's not common. You have to have a very...
Didn't I write an article about that?
Yeah, kind of psyched out personality to do it. He was an angry man. Oh,
yes.
my
It's
God.
pretty interesting because I had an investigator tell me once that, and they were working on a theory that not all ghosts or spirits or whatever we would call this phenomena is people that have passed. They're working on a theory that it could possibly be us just in a time loop ourselves.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's what I wrote, is it us or
Yeah.
there's so many sides where the EVP could be coming from. Am I imagining or am I projecting it? That's the reason why we don't tell our group any history about where we are that night until after the investigation. And then the psychic, she writes down her feelings and then correlates to our hard evidence. And it's kind of wonderful.
Yeah, with EVP is such a crazy phenomenon because nobody seems to know how it gets recorded. Now, we have done some experiments with that where we disable the microphone, the internal microphone, and there is no external microphone. And we record alongside a live microphone. And what happens is that with that deadened no microphone system, we don't pick up anything. All the EVP are on the other recorder. So we know it comes through the microphone at some point. We don't know how it's manipulated, but
how do thoughts come through a microphone?
So, yeah, that's the thing. They are maybe digitally, electronically manipulating. We know ghosts can do that.
We do give off an electromagnetic field ourselves and our electrical beings,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The reason this investigator was flirting with that is because he had gone to a place, second investigation into this place, and it was months apart from the first. And while he was there, he got an EVP, which was himself talking from the last time he was there, saying the same exact thing that he said the last time he was there. And I'm like, okay, well, I know nobody uses cassette tapes anymore, but I had to ask the question, because if I didn't, then and he was using cassette, well, there's your answer. You probably recorded over yourself and it's still on that magnetic tab. But no, it was a pure digital recorder, and it's hard to fool.
Now, digital recorders sometimes you can hear ghost sounds if you just erase between investigations. You should format in between investigations to remove all data off of that track. That's something I learned from another tech wizard that has taught me a lot about electronics.
Well, you talk about how we imprint. It always brings me back to telephone calls from the dead.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a spooky subject, but we've recorded my father speaking to Doug. That was weird. My father wouldn't know how to work a telephone.
Well, he had no idea. He never used a cell phone.
Never.
How did he use Jane's cell phone to call my cell phone?
Yeah.
To leave a message.
Another thing about, you were saying that the guy recorded the same thing he had said from a previous investigation. Now, we have learned through experience that some of these spirits are just wonderful mimics.
Yeah.
They can mimic your voice to the point where, holy cow, how could that be? Mm-hmm. They left 2 hours ago. And we've recorded their voice, and we just sat there, huh? How is that possible?
Sometimes they speak the same sentence we speak, but before we start saying it, they've said the whole thing.
Yeah, well,
weird.
What is that? Some sort of time weirdness?
Yeah.
Where they know the answer and answer before you even ask the question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really fascinating.
Yeah, it is. There's so
many
much
questions,
so much to learn, and we're just scraping the surface.
For sure. That's the best part about this field for me, is that every time you ask a question, you just get a question back. You it never gets old because of that, You
get a little bit of an answer and 12 questions to go with it.
Yeah.
It just amazes me the first time we ever heard a recorded EVP that we actually recorded. Jane and I just looked at each other like, wow.
Yeah, there's some crazy ones. You guys have some crazy ones on your website. Everybody should check out. I was getting into that before we talked tonight.
There's some good ones on
We have hundreds of actual Class A EVP, a bunch of thousands that are not so Class A, but they're still EVP, and I just love picking them up. It's so exciting. You know how an investigation can be pretty boring. You're sitting there, you're asking questions, and you're listening to atmosphere.
Yeah.
And then you go home and start listening to your audio, and the voices start popping out, and the excitement and the adrenaline. To me, it's just a rush.
Listen, I've told this story on my show before, but I got to tell it to you guys. So I interviewed a guy named Patrick Meekin from Ohio, and Patrick had a case where he had purchased a house, or actually he had purchased land and built a house on the land. Well, lo and behold, his house, brand new house that he just had built, had, first of all kinds of problems, and then was haunted, like crazy haunted. And Patrick he's a very religious man. So he tried everything he could to figure this out. Well, come to find out that the land that he purchased, and I may be a little wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure this is the gist of the story, was tied up in a battle from an Amish family that was trying to purchase the land because it was in their family for generations.
Oh.
And he bought it not knowing this. And he was taunted by these people and all kinds of crazy stuff. Well, here, come to find out, Amish people practice a form of witchcraft called powwowing. and they
Wow.
put a curse on him. And that's the result of this curse. Well, it led Patrick down this road. He's now like an exorcist for his church and all kinds of things like that. But I did a nice interview with him and we were getting into it. And at one point, it was just me alone in the room like I am now talking with you guys. And I forget the question I asked him and he answered. And then I went to say something else. And I was reviewing this because I always go back through and edit my show, of course. Out in my garage at about 2 a.m, I had already been about 3 beers deep. And it was raining like hell outside and the garage door is open. And I have a little man cave out in my garage. That's where I hang out. And all of a sudden, right before I said something, a voice came over on my wave file. So we had 2 separate wave files. And this thing, like, it shouted, Jesus Christ. Wow. And it scared the living crap out of me to the point where I'm like, I'm done tonight. Too many beers for me. I'll review this in the morning. I did. And it was creepy as hell. So I sent this over to Patrick and I didn't give him any information. You know, I said, check this out. And he says, man, he said, Jesus Christ. And I said, yeah, he did. He's like, wow. You gotta watch out for yourself, man. You don't know how far this thing goes. So nothing ever happened after that, but it was freaky, man. It was really freaky.
Yeah. Well, we had been at Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in West Virginia.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we had a lot of other people there at the same time.
40 of our best friends. Right?
More like 60. And we had to keep running around and finding quiet places to do EVP sessions and such. And we found a particularly nice quiet spot. And I was recording, but when I was listening to it, we got to this one point in the recording and it sounded like me saying something over and over again. It just didn't seem right. And so I was talking to Michael Esposito, who is this big sound fella up in Pennsylvania. No, Chicago. And he said, well, if there's something in the background that doesn't sound right, he says, try playing it backwards.
Ooh.
So I did. And you hear Jane talking backwards. And then all of a sudden a voice says, Satan.
Ooh.
And I said, uh-oh.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some really creepy stuff, man. I mean, there are things that you can't explain. And I think it's important that people like you guys are out there trying to find some of the answers to the unexplainable.
Well, this is, curiosity killed the cat, but we got 9 lives, so we're still at it.
I was just thinking to supplement that, we have open meetings the last Friday of every month right here in town. And we get a variety of people in there, but we have some regulars. It's really nice that they're starting to think our way. This is different, Yeah. It is a science behind this.
Well, there for sure is. There for sure is. And, I think that some paranormal experiences are also a spiritual thing. And sometimes they can't be proven by the scientific method because they were spiritually meant for that person. That's how I feel about it.
That's probably very true. I mean, I personally think I met an angel, I don't know, some spirit entity on I-95.
Oh, wow.
Coming back from New York in the middle of the night with ice and snow on the ground. And I stopped at a rest center and I was going to get a cup of coffee. and I was walking towards the kiosk, those walk-through kiosks.
Oh, yeah. Great coffee.
Yeah, wonderful. But I needed caffeine bad.
I get it.
So I'm walking towards the kiosk, and this guy comes walking on the sidewalk from the other direction out of the dark. And, of course, I just slammed on my brakes and looked at him. I was about to backpedal, but he just seemed so innocuous that I just kept walking. And he asked me, are you heading south on 95? And I said, yeah. And he says, when you get to mile marker, I think it was 120 or 121, you need to slow way down and just be very careful. And he walks through the kiosk in front of me to the northbound side. And I walked in there and kind of followed him through to thank him. Got to the other side, and there was no cars there and nobody.
Wow.
And there were no footprints in the snow.
Wow, that's fascinating. That's a great story.
I'll tell them the end.
Yeah.
Well, at mile marker 120, I slowed way down and came up over the rise, and it was nothing but black ice on the other side.
Oh, wow. Man, so he was looking out for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he was.
That's awesome, man. That is a great story.
Well,
thank you for sharing that, for sure.
I've been saved way too many times. I don't know why, but there must be something I'm supposed to do.
Me.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I tell you, I don't think that we would be doing this if we hadn't met it for coffee. It just seemed to fall into place.
Well, we work really well together, except when we don't.
Usually Doug ends up with one team and I end up with the other.
I'm the tech guy, so I'm trying to set up the tech stuff, and she's wanting to get the case moving, and she's herding cats, meaning investigators and whatnot. And she's looking at me like, come on.
I read everybody the riot act twice.
Yeah. So, I've learned to pare down my equipment so I can set it up real quick. The cameras I use now that I build and put together, I throw 2 switches and it's up and running.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Just plop them down.
It's battery powered. It just runs forever all by itself. You throw 2 switches and walk away.
Nice. Now it sounds just like me and my wife. We get along great till she wants me to hang a picture. Then she gets too bossy.
Oh.
Well, that's a woman's prerogative, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so.
Stop.
I guess so. No, we're great together until, there's something like that to be done. And then we just blab at each other the whole time. So
Yeah, it lasts until what? We get out of the truck and that's that.
Yeah.
Well, Jane is such a great organizer.
What was that?
That's my computer.
Oh.
She is just such a wonderful organizer. She keeps everything button tight. So we're not wasting time. And I'm just kind of poke along. I want to get the equipment set up just so perfectly. And she just says, just do it.
Yeah. I mean, you always have to think that you have so much time at this place and you may not ever get to go back.
Yeah.
And so you better do it right the first time.
Yep. She keeps us all on the straight and narrow.
Mm.
That's what same thing my wife does for me.
Yeah. Our first couple of years, though, we looked for information on how to do this. And of course, there was none. I think there was one thing online, and a friend of ours from up near Raleigh told us about the Ryan Research Center. You've heard of that, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, they offer the best classes that, they're a little bit of money, but I mean, for a beginning person there, it was amazed how much I didn't know and how much stuff I thought was true that was just nothing. I mean, they really set us on the straight and narrow.
We read about every book there was out there, and some that were really stupid. but most of the stuff coming from the Rhine was exceptional. The one fortunate thing for us was there was taps out there, ghost hunter show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think ghost hunters to this day, except for some black marks along the way, are the best example of paranormal investigation.
Doing it right.
They do it pretty much right.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they get too involved in the process, with bells and whistles and stuff. But I see now that they're doing more and more research and using fewer and fewer gizmos.
Feel that?
Yes, that's the heat just turned on.
Oh, so we get cold blast when the heat turns on. Great.
Yeah, she thought we had a spirit walking through here.
It got cold in here all of a sudden, just boom.
Hey,
You get used to looking out for stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Like we have different antennas up.
oh yeah, we've been some places that it was so much of your antenna vibrating more so than evidence coming through,
Mm-hmm.
your microphone or a camera lens. But, you're one place I was trying to walk out of the room, and every time I tried to walk out of the room, the hair on my arm stood up and it felt like somebody was pulling me backwards.
Oh, wow.
And so I walk back in the room and say, leave me alone and let me go. And it happened again on the third or fourth time. I turned around and very crossly said, leave me alone. And it stopped.
You just got to be stern.
Yeah, you got to let them know you mean it.
But we didn't get any EVP from this process, nothing. But the
Was that the black spot?
no,
Oh.
this was at Bellamy Mansion.
Oh, yeah. I think the butler there has it out for you.
He hates everybody.
What is your favorite place to investigate?
Oh my gosh.
Well, the battleship, because we know everybody. We know the boys.
And we've actually gotten to investigate everywhere on that ship.
Mm-hmm.
They no longer allow that, but we went everywhere on the ship, and every place that wasn't flooded.
Wow.
I think the asylum up in upstate
yes.
New York.
That was trial by fire. We learned so much from this one place.
And it wasn't just the EVP. I mean, we did actually record. Now, this is amazing. The first time we were allowed to record was we got 55 minutes of time to walk around one building with recorders and cameras because it was part of a bigger system, and they didn't want us taking pictures elsewhere. But anyway, in that 55 minutes, when we sat down to review, I said, I think I've found 8 EVP. And, we were kind of stunned that you found
good.
8 EVP
Yeah.
in 55 minutes. And then I got better
You
headphones
practiced.
and equipment and reviewed the same 55 minutes. It wasn't 8, it was 28.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, this place had not been overrun by tourists or thrill seekers, whatever you want to call them. It was closed. And we were just lucky that,
And the next year we were invited back because we did such a good job in 55 minutes that they actually said, yes, you can come back next year and we'll give you 2 nights to investigate 2 separate buildings. And we were like joyous.
Oh.
I mean, it was, I can't tell you the kind of adrenaline rush it was. And the investigation was just amazing.
Yeah, I think they did this on purpose. This guy told us where to set up. And this is a building that is used for training police on SWAT work. Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
And our equipment was in one room. He had bunks and stuff in there. And Doug left a recorder running by our gear. nobody was up there. We knew where everybody was, and you can hear them flipping open our 007 cases.
Oh, wow.
Checking out our equipment.
Just moving stuff around, looking around. And we knew where everybody was.
These, this building used to be 4 stories tall. They took the top 2 stories off of the building for whatever reason. So we were up on the 2nd floor in our setup room, and Jane and I were sitting in our setup room, and we're talking, and all of a sudden you hear hard shoes clomping across the ceiling.
Oh.
And we followed it in all the way into another room, and it just stopped. This was the kind of building it was. There was a lot of physicality to this.
You got attacked. So did I.
Yeah, we both got attacked. Mm-hmm. Doors open and closed, footsteps going up and down stairs. It was just crazy.
Yeah, we weren't sure whether we were hearing the past or hearing spirit make that noise right now. We weren't that good.
Have you guys ever got anything that you consider dark or demonic?
No.
No, we've run into some spirits that some people might think were demonic, but I think they were angry spirits.
Angry. And at the asylum, they were probably very confused. When Doug got attacked at one place, it was because he came in in this little room with another guy as big as Doug. And I think the spirit thought they were 2 orderlies because he backed away, and there was a black spot up in the corner.
Oh, that
was upstairs.
That was on the 3rd floor of Elliott Hall. There was a black mass that I noticed on the floor after one of the investigators had already walked in. I didn't have time to alert her, and all of a sudden this thing crawled right up the wall to the ceiling. Wow. And I went to tell them to back out of the room, and I choked. Something choked me. I couldn't speak. It was just, it was awful. But as far as, there was one place in St. Paul, North Carolina, that I'm not exactly sure what was going on there. There were time slips actually being transported from one spot to another while only walking a few hundred yards.
Wow.
And all of a sudden you're a mile and a half away.
That's fascinating.
There's a house that's attached to the property, and some crazy stuff when doors slamming, lights swaying. The spindles on the back of a chair.
Sure.
There were some loose ones in a closet. And while I was looking at it with another investigator, they come spinning out of the closet, like 3 of them. And they just sit there spinning right in front of my eyes. And I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
EVP session in that place. One of the questions we ask on places that are kind of iffy, we ask, is Yahweh your God? Because we were told by a exorcist that was the key question to determine if it might be demonic.
Interesting.
And the answer that I got was no. And I think that was the last time I ever went out there. I didn't want to push the point, because if it was demonic, I have no ability to deal with it.
I was going to ask if you had
no training,
a plan for if you ever had encountered that, or maybe simply if someone had contacted you, say for a residential case, and you went out and found that was it was an actual, demonic presence, or thought it was. Do you have a backup plan for that?
Back out.
That's easy.
That's the smartest thing to do, is to back away and ask the owner of the house if it would be all right if we bring clergy to the house.
Okay.
Because we have no ability to deal with that sort of thing. We have no training.
No.
I talk with, I don't know whether you've ever heard of him, Bishop James Long.
Yep. I know him.
Yeah.
Well, he's kind of the guy I go to ask questions about the demonic. And we've also met him at some conferences, but his explanation of demonic infestation in a home pretty much tell you right away that you've got a problem and to just back away.
Yeah.
He'll be the first one I call.
Oh, yeah.
I've actually had the chance. I don't know if you know him or not, Ralph Sarchi on the show once. And that was a fascinating interview. Let me tell you what, he's just, they made the Hollywood movie about him several years ago. And he wrote a book, and they made the movie on the book. And he's just as hardcore as you would imagine him to be. Like, he's a no-nonsense kind of guy. You want somebody to tell you exactly how it is, that he will do that. And but he's very religious in the same. He was one of the Catholic Church's lead demonologists. So
wow.
He's the guy that goes in and says, yes, this is a real, case, or no, this guy's just crazy,
Yeah.
And he says, what he told me was, more times than not, that's exactly what happens. You go in and it's a mental issue, or it's drugs, or it's something like that. And then, that's a different form of help, but it still happens. So you gotta protect yourself for sure.
Well, the church goes through a many-step process before they even approve a case for an exorcism. And, one of the first things that they do is a psychological evaluation.
Yep.
And a medical one. Make sure there's no brain tumors or whatnot affecting their reasoning.
I hear that dog, man. What kind of dog is it? No, it's all right.
The one that burps they're both mutts.
I love
just
dogs.
Mutties.
Yeah, well, they're constantly running around. We used to have 4, and they do make a racket, but these guys are little, so they're not too bad.
Yeah, I love dogs, man. We have a black lab, and it's literally been the best dog I've ever had in my whole entire life.
I love labs.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart. He's not very tough, but he's a lovey-dovey.
Yeah, that's all they need to be.
Yeah,
that's all you need to be.
Yeah, yep.
I know that some people take a dog on a paranormal investigation because animals are supposed to be more sensitive, but
they're awful witnesses.
They're awful witnesses. Plus the fact you don't want to traumatize the animal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How do you explain?
Well, yeah, I had a dog in my apartment in New York City on 3rd Avenue, and we pretty much knew it was haunted because all sorts of crazy crap would happen. Things would disappear and reappear, like a pair of scissors and a tile knife.
Yeah.
They just totally disappeared. And a month later, they were sitting on the bathroom sink. One was on one side of the sink, one was on the other. That kind of thing.
That stuff is fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
My dog was like crazy. We'd go out and that dog would howl and tear things up. And I took it as separation anxiety But then I realized, wait a second, this place is haunted. This old lady, I think, was the one that was doing it, didn't like us, didn't like the dog. And when I moved to another location, the dog's bad behavior just absolutely stopped.
Huh.
So, yeah, he might have sensed the haunting, but I don't want to traumatize the dog. That's not a good thing to do.
Well, I personally know people that research with their, they take their dogs with them, but as soon as they kind of use their dog as like a detector type thing. But as soon as they've established that something's going on, they then remove that animal. But I also know people that take cats too, and I think that's crazy.
Yeah, cats will mess with you.
Yeah.
They stare at the corner and they look back and forth, staring at the corner, and they're looking at nothing. They're just messing with your mind.
Yeah, I say that all the time. We have 2 cats, and my cats, they're always looking real quick, and I'll say, "What was that?" My wife's like, "It's not a ghost, Ken. Leave it alone."
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's everybody has their own little, style of investigation and way they do things. And, I think the important thing is that at the end of the day, they are actually presenting evidence. And, if it's a residential case, they're looking for ways to help the person that's in need and or the spirit that's in need.
Both usually.
Yeah, right. And
absolutely.
There are so many groups out there that they will do residential cases, and I beat this to death on my show. I do. But it drives me crazy because they'll do these residential cases where people are in need, and they'll go out and go, "Yeah, your house is haunted." Well, thanks, asshole.
Bye.
I already knew that. Thanks. Like, what are you going to do for me now? Oh, nothing. We'll burn this sage and hope that works,
Well, it's also people are, they go into a house and they tell the owner without really doing any real strong investigation that you've got a demon in your house.
Oh, yeah.
And you should never do that.
Yeah.
Who are we to say? Plus the fact you're going to terrorize the people and they're going to start doubling down on the night terrors and all the other things that are going on in the house, and it's going to get worse. Yep. So, be very careful with what you present as evidence. It's just so frustrating that some of these people go in there with the idea of getting the adrenaline rush.
Yep.
And if something happens, if a branch bounces off the side of the house and they start screaming demon, and you're terrorizing the homeowner and they don't know what to do, these people just make it so much worse.
They call us for cleanups.
Yeah. And here's the flip side to that. Like, I've been working on this theory for a while now that I think that, I've talked to a bunch of researchers and investigators, and a lot of them say, like you do, they haven't really ran into too many cases where they've ran into anything that they would consider demonic or anything like that. But there are rare cases that do. And I've been working on this idea that I think that sometimes whenever somebody has a haunting and they either think it's a demonic or someone comes in and tells them it's a demonic, I think that's an opportunity for a demonic to invite itself into that environment and use that haunting as a way in.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's possible.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
The kind of thing where let's say an angry, belligerent haunting can draw something evil is not far-fetched.
I think they beat the people down, so they just have no defense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And whenever you're down like that, then something just jumps right in, I mean, it's possible. I think, in this field, I don't feel like anything is impossible,
Right. That is absolutely right. There are there was a place out in some woods that we were in, and I had taken my flashlight and shined it into the woods, and I saw this kind of bluish balloon sitting up in the tree, and I'm going, what the heck is this doing out in the woods?
Yeah.
And then I saw it rotate, and two black eyes were staring back at me.
Nope.
Yeah, and somebody said, what did you see? And I said, I don't want to tell you what I saw, but maybe you saw the same thing. And they went chasing after it in the woods, and they came back and they said it looked like a gray.
Yeah.
And I said, that's exactly what I saw.
Well, they also saw a black ship out there.
Now, the question is, did I really see that? Or was there something that bad out there that can make you see whatever scares you the most? And that's exactly what Bishop Long said. When you go into a place and all of a sudden you feel fears that are the worst you've ever had, that place is probably infested, if not possessed. So I don't know what I was dealing with out there, and that's another reason why
we don't go.
We
back.
never went back.
Yeah, that's pretty terrifying, and there's a flip side to that too. There are people that have had encounters with what they would call aliens and things like that, and they think almost the opposite of that. They think that these things get in by showing them screen images of something that they think is good or makes them happy. I've talked to
like Fire in the Sky.
Yeah, so many people that have had like abduction cases that said, I had a guy tell me that Big Bird came out of his closet when he was a kid and was talking to him and took him away in a spaceship. I'm like,
oh wow,
Big Bird, like that's what they thought made him happy, so that's what they projected.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's really fascinating.
I don't even want to think. But we don't do the UFOs. We specialize in spirits and ghosts.
Listen, I'm telling you right now, if Big Bird comes out of my closet, I ain't talking
I'm leaving.
to him. Yeah, I'm gone. You can bet your sweet butt that I am never coming back either.
Yeah.
Tell your wife to go in there and tell it to go away.
I'm calling a priest.
Yeah. Well, my wife would. She would. She's a crazy Irish gal. She'll go in there and read them the riot act. But I'm the sissy in this relationship. I don't mess around.
Well, you probably got a vivid imagination.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But
do you go on investigations?
I've been on a few. I've been on a few investigations. I enjoy it. I have 6 kids. So
oh my goodness,
it's hard to get me out of the house sometimes.
I can understand that.
They're all teenagers now. I have one that's turning 20 this month, a couple weeks. So they keep me going though, between wrestling and cheerleading and everything else. It never stops, Are
any of them interested in the paranormal?
Yeah, my 3 of my boys, they really enjoy it. The other 3, they're like, sometimes if I talk about it, they'll talk about it with me, but not as, crazy about it as I am. I just, it fascinates me. So that's what keeps me going with it,
Yeah, we eat up with it.
Yeah, we never really, I don't think we ever envisioned how much we would have done, how far we would have gone in this field, and how much we have learned
really
over time. It's just amazing, and still we know nothing.
Yeah. Well, that's what I tell everybody. This field either makes you old quick or it keeps you young. One of the two, because it just depends on how you look at it, right? Like for me, it keeps me young because there's a new mystery everywhere, and that excites me. For other people, it makes them old because they just get tired of of never finding the answers, you know?
Well, if you don't keep poking at it, you'll never find the answer.
Yeah, that is very true.
Well, you look at some scientists, Madame Curie and Jonas Salk and people like that. If they didn't keep poking, what this world would have missed.
True, very true.
So
maybe someday,
all of a sudden, the truth will come out. Somebody will figure it out.
I'm not banking on it because Dad should have told us something.
Well, that's another thing is that we have found out that when you ask the spirits what goes on about going to the other side, what is it? What's it like?
Yeah.
All you hear is crickets.
Really?
They won't answer you.
Well, they might not know.
They might not be allowed.
Well, they might not know because they haven't crossed all the way over.
That is true.
Yeah.
But, the ones that maybe cross over and come back, you would think maybe they'll give us a little hint that they never tell us anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that...
Sorry, the dog's acting
right.
up.
I think that they must have there's a code or something that they cannot violate that trust and tell us exactly what's on the other side. Whether it would mean that a lot of people will commit suicide because they want to cross over so quickly, or that it means that there really isn't much here on the other side and you would be terrified.
Maybe it is different for every individual person. Maybe it's another spiritual thing, and it's different for everybody.
Well, think about people on other planets because they know that there are Earth-like planets out there that, who knows what they believe in?
Right?
Yeah. And it also crossed my mind is like, are we talking to aliens? Doug kind of touched on that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is that our
they're weird, but then there's some that lived in that house.
Hauntings that you cannot predict. They make no sense. People hearing things in the night and find stuff missing in the morning, or they are missing time themselves, and you believe it's a haunting, but maybe it's not.
Yeah, who knows? And that's why I find like the Estes method and even the use. Some people have used like the God helmet with Estes, and I find that entirely fascinating because the one person is completely shut off from all senses other than smell. And they're listening to that ghost box going off while the other person's asking questions that person cannot hear. And they're getting like legit answers back to these questions that they're like very direct answers. And it's like, where is this coming from? Like how is this possible? It's interesting as heck.
Yeah, it's interesting. But the reason why we don't do the Estes method is because I'm just really dead set against the ghost box. And Barry Taft just wrote an article. I don't know where it is in my stuff on my desk, but it's all about debunking it. It doesn't work. Well, it's not a ghost tool.
I do believe it works. I do. But it's
this is where it gets ugly.
To me, it's like an electronic Ouija board.
Yeah.
You don't know who you're inviting. You don't know who you're talking to. They could be leading you on, and you have no bloody clue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I call it the electronic Ouija board.
Yeah, it opens you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, it gets you talking to them and engaged in what they're saying, that their answers are the truth, but they may be far from the truth.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah, the spirits just,
Tease.
Are you talking to a human spirit?
Right.
You don't know. You have no clue.
What about that place with the cold house, the empty house? A friend of ours asked us to come over. Well, she wasn't a friend then, to come over to her house because something really nasty was going on. She had been out of the house for a year as she and her husband went on a job in California or something. And she had a girl stay there. And the girl said the place was nuts, that things are missing, things were getting thrown around, blah, blah, blah. Well, it turns out that person was a wannabe witch and did some spell casting in the house. And that's when things blew up. And she ran like a bunny, and we got in touch with her. She got in touch. The owner got in touch with us. But the spirit in that house, it was strong. I mean, you could feel the house. And it would do stupid stuff like flicker the lights and turn them on and off. Turn
fans on and off. Take objects off the wall and
throw them,
stick them in other places. It was just pretty nasty. The one night that I accidentally got stuck there one night all by myself. One thing we never do is investigate alone. For a couple of reasons. You might get hurt, or you might witness something and there's only one person to witness it.
Yep.
But Jane had I think she had a migraine, and Tony was waiting to pick up his son, and it was getting later and later, and I was sitting in this house all by myself, and it was like sucking the life out of me, making me feel so tense and irritable that I finally called Tony and says, "Don't worry about coming here. I'm going home. I'm out of here, bud. It's done."
This was an ugly spirit.
It turned on. I think I had the fan in the kitchenette area always goes on because the pull chain, if you pull it, you'd be afraid to tear the fan right off the ceiling. So I noticed on my way out that the fan was no longer turning. And just as I flicked the lights off to leave, the lights came back on.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I'm going to turn these lights out one more time and I'm gone and I'm not coming back.
Yeah, no joke.
Yeah.
But we did this place, about 5 times?
Yeah. And the girl she had actually, it was her grandmother and grandfather's house, and she had grown up in the house, and she knew something's gone on even as a teen. And she just didn't like the house. I said, "What would you do if it burned down?" She says, "Laugh." You know?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's the only way they get rid of that spirit, but I think he's an old one.
Yeah, he's dark, and I think he's old. And I don't mean that he was an old man when he died. I think he's been there a long, long time.
He belongs to the land.
And we caught EVPs, him telling us not just to go away. He says, "I want to be alone. This is my home."
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So that's a place that they never called us back after we gave them. She listened to all the EVP we had, and her mouth just dropped, and she says, I'm going to go now."
Yeah. Her husband did not back her up.
I don't think he believes in any of it.
No. And the problem is, I think she's kind of a pushover, and that's who spirits like.
Yeah.
They want to dominate you.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think it was a demon.
I have no idea, but I don't think so.
I
think it was just a very mean spirit. We've come across other ones where, I got pushed on the stairs in one location, remember?
Is that one of the vortex in the middle?
Vortex. Yeah. We had a house that had an EMF vortex right in the center of the living room. And we found out that it was being created by transformers that actually surrounded this townhome. You could walk in any one direction and pick up all this EMF coming off of transformers, ground level transformers, but they all converged in the middle of the living room.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they went up through the ceiling.
It went up through the ceiling, but that house, I think what it did was it gave something energy, and a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
We got a lot of voices. I got pushed on the stairs a couple of times. When Jane, we actually, at that point, they asked us to bless the house.
Oh, God, yeah.
So we did. And it started mocking Jane's words as it was,
this is not your house.
Nasty voice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we were out of there.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
I'd be with you. I'm
wiping yourself off as you get to the truck, you know?
Yeah. There are so many weird things that happen, and I
think what makes us feel good is like one case downtown that this spirits were in the house, and they knocked this one woman down, and she blacked her eye on a coffee table or something, and her husband went over to pick her up, and it pushed her down on top of her. And some other things happened, so they found us and called us, and we ended up being great friends. But we found out it was the owners of the house, especially the missus. Now, this house was built 18-something?
Early 1800s.
Yeah. And you have to get your head back into what was going on in Wilmington in the early 1800s. And this house was her pride and joy. And in comes this couple, and she's a home decorator. And they didn't like that at all. And so we figured it out. Yeah.
Well, the thing is that I don't know whether it was just a natural thing where husband and wife might not have been getting along too well, or it was spurred on by the spirits that were in the house, maybe to get them to leave. But then something else appeared in the house. The black shadow. And I actually saw it. One of our other investigators saw it.
She's a psychic, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we got two great psychics working with us.
That was the house where we were sitting at the bar in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And we're just talking, discussing things. And something grabbed the back two legs of the stool I was on and picked it up and tried to dump me on the floor.
Bet you liked that, didn't you?
Not much.
I was laughing.
They thought that I was clowning around.
Well, you always do.
I do. But
you know, we did find from doing the history and stuff of the house, which was well done and saved by our historical society, that these two people, we got in contact with them, and that's who the basic haunters were there. And we explained, I told her that you need to be friends with them because it was their house first. But we explained to the dead couple that they're gone, and now these people are in your house, and they are taking such good care of it. And she learned, instead of yelling at these people, she'd sit down and talk to them. If she wanted to hang a picture or do something different with the house, she'd say, well, Mrs. So-and-so, this is what I want to do. I think you'll really like it, you know. And it worked.
It worked.
And they got along better, and that little black thing never showed back up.
Yeah.
But that actually touched Debbie, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Ugh.
It brushed right by one of our investigators. She felt it. She looked down, and I saw it as it squeezed past her.
Little back balls of smoke. Yeah.
That wasn't.
Well, that's not the first. That's the second time we've run into that. Or
but the black mass.
Yeah. Two times.
It's at least 2 times.
Yeah.
I wonder what that is. I wonder if it's something dark or if it's just a manifestation of energy.
Yeah, might be.
It might be, just the dark energy that people produce.
Mm-hmm. Might be an elemental.
With anger, or it could be some sort of an elemental. They always seem to appear where there's conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they caused the conflict, or they just latch on to the energy?
I don't
Which
know.
came first, the chicken or the egg?
Exactly. Right. Are they just there because of the energy that's being provided, or are they stirring the pot? We don't know. But then there are the ones that are almost human form. They're taller, and we call those watchers. Like they're observing. They don't do anything.
Mm-mm.
They just
They don't see
they're just
anything.
there.
Yeah.
People will wake up in the middle of the night and see a tall figure standing in the doorway or by a window, and it just stays there. It doesn't move.
Is it a drone?
You know, people get up and turn on lights and it's gone. The trouble is, are people dreaming?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that go on, like Hag syndrome and stuff, that happens during part of the sleep cycle. So I don't know. You know, I've never seen one of those, but I've seen black masses, and they always result in something negative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all interesting, and I'll tell you, you guys have some great stories, and your investigations are amazing, and your website's great. So I think you guys are doing good stuff.
Come on to Wilmington.
Yeah, have you guys ever been down here to? I'm just outside of Charleston.
Oh, I wish.
And you know, there's some great stuff here.
I don't know.
You know, we've been down there to visit, but we haven't investigated down there. There are two places in South Carolina. Well, there's probably more than that, but two cities, Charleston and Savannah.
Yep.
That I would love to be able to investigate.
Well, there's so much with the Civil War there, and as the place grew, and problems with slavery, and there's a lot of bad stuff that happened.
Yep. There's a lot of downtown Charleston is just, you could literally take a ghost tour there, like every single hour on the hour if you wanted to, and it's in a very active area. And then we have the Uss Yorktown down there too.
Uh-huh.
And I would strongly urge that you guys check that out at some point, because I know for a fact that there is some wild stuff that happens there. I've witnessed it myself. And
Do they allow tours at night after hours?
I bet you could talk them into it, especially in the off season. In the wintertime, you know, in the wintertime, my son and I went there last winter for my birthday, and we were basically the only people in that whole ship the whole time we were there.
Wow.
And it still took us like 3.5 hours to walk through it.
Now, if you want to get an experience, and we are planning on doing this on a day trip, which is going to be tough, but right next door to the Yorktown is the USS Laffey.
Yeah.
It's a destroyer.
Yep.
That ship has been through hell and back again.
I've been on it.
Wow.
You've been on it. If you didn't sense something on that ship, I would be surprised.
Yeah, there's you know, that ship was you could definitely tell there was something there. And there was the same thing with the Yorktown whenever I was in the cafeteria area, and then they have a chapel in there as well. And the chapel just really made it literally made the hairs on my arms stick up. Highly charged there. And it's an insane experience. Like, especially there when you're there with just you and maybe one other person, you know, it's open. So,
yeah.
Well, and that's interesting because that's not the original Yorktown.
Right. The original Yorktown was sunk soon after it was built.
It was sunk at Midway.
Yep.
So I can see where the ones that died on the original Yorktown, ended up on the second Yorktown.
Mm-hmm.
I could
Right.
see that happening.
Go home.
And I'm wondering how many of the sailors on that ship knew it? The living sailors, I'm saying.
Yeah.
How many of them knew that there was something more to that ship?
And there are so many artifacts from the original ship that are on that ship.
That'll help. Yeah.
Plus you got to think of all the energy and all the, like, what point in a young man's life when they were on that ship, like the memories that brings back to them, and probably the energy impressions that they leave there, going through that. You know, it's crazy.
It's like our battleship. There's some active hauntings, and there's a lot of residual stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we got to know the boys on the battleship, at least two of the men on the battleship. At least we think it's two, maybe three.
That's iffy.
But the ship always remains active. And every time we go there, we get something.
Yeah.
Something happens, something occurs, voices are recorded. We've heard the ship's bell ring.
Heard music coming out of the
Music, 40s music coming out of one of the air vents.
Wow.
And the crazy thing is we all took our recorder and stuck it up in the air vent, and not one of us recorded anything.
It's crazy how that happens too.
Yeah, but I asked everybody, I said, all at once now, tell me what you heard. And everybody said, in the mood.
Nice.
So we all had the same.
Yeah, that's important. That's why you said you have more than one investigator at a scene at a time.
Well, that's the thing is that we've had plenty of times on that ship where we will hear a voice. Mm-hmm. We were in the mess area, and there were like 4 or 5 of us walking through, and in the corner you hear someone yell, "Hey!" I mean, loud. We all turned around and looked, and there was nobody there. When I reviewed my audio, there was nobody yelling, "Hey!" It was quiet.
Crazy.
It was crazy. How about we were at one part of the ship where you can go down, and we looked down the hatch, and you could see that at the bottom of the ladder that it was has a lot of water in it. We couldn't know how deep, but the boys were all hanging on that ladder, kind of inching down there to get some things, and everybody heard somebody sloshing through the water towards them.
Oh, wow.
Now, while this was going on, I was standing on top of there, looking down at the boys, looking down the hatch, and all of a sudden I felt somebody grab my butt and squeeze it. And I turned around and said, "Stop that." And then I realized I was talking to the bulkhead. Now, whoever did that needs a spanking.
You sure do.
I don't think it was my boyfriend, though.
Yeah, the boys on the battleship do like to play pranks, especially on me.
Mm-hmm.
They'll slam things as I'm walking by. I think
Make
they
you
like
jump?
They want to see how high I can jump.
Did you see our video of the brig door?
I did not see that. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, because that is an example of a haunting, but is it looking to the past? Or what the heck's going on? Because 3 of us were inside that one cell.
The door was closed.
Yeah.
When they went into the cell, the door was closed.
Mm-hmm. And Doug actually came down to change the tape in one of our individual setups. And you can see him get up and walk away. And he turned the corner to go back to get with his group. And then you see this door shimmer open and shimmer closed. What was that?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
There's something about like ships like that. Like I got to talk with Kitty Janice she lives in California, and she gets to go on the Queen Mary all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I'd love that.
And that is her favorite place. And she treats it like, she loves that place. She talks about how beautiful it is, and she just loves it. And it's but she has actually captured recordings, and they've heard several times of people singing "Anchors Away."
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
It's crazy, you know. It's insane, but she has the evidence.
Well, maybe it was the boys. Because didn't they use that as a troop ship?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. The things that you record accidentally, whether it be video or audio, some of them are astounding. There's no explanation. It's, you know, especially with video and still pictures, it's all kind of accidental. You might be able to think of an area where something might happen, but actually capturing something is
The
Totally
Holy
different.
Grail.
it's a holy grail.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean we've captured shadow people in one building. One guy just kept peeking out from behind a post.
Was
We
there
caught.
two of them or one of them in
There
there?
was just one.
Oh,
But on the top floor of the building, there was a light that started glowing right at the bottom of the window, down below the window. Got bright and then dim out. Caught that on camera. I think the guy at Trans Allegheny that we caught with my head cam,
oh, that little guy.
the guy in the Johnny gown,
Looks like a confused patient.
came out, must have seen us, turned around and went right back. And this all happened in a 1 second interval. And it was a great recording.
That's crazy. So everybody can find like most of your evidence right on your website, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
The
it's
interesting part we
it's
should share.
just a small fraction of our evidence, because otherwise we would be giving it all away.
Yeah, right.
Well, half the people don't believe it anyway.
Oh yeah, we've been told we were frauds and
Yeah.
Yeah,
making
that's
stuff up.
those are some of the punches that you got to take when you're in the field like this, you know.
Yeah.
Just-
but it's usually the frauds that are telling us that our evidence is faked.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, some people think that this is a competition.
no.
You know, that my group's better than your group. You know, your stuff is all phony and ours is the best.
We should all be on the same team.
Exactly.
We're all looking for the same thing, man. I mean, if you're really in this for the right reasons, then you are all part of the same team.
Yeah.
Really.
I just think that a lot of groups need to go away. That
We need
they're-
to get some education.
they're not doing this for the right reasons. They're doing it for an adrenaline rush. They want to get scared. They want to see something terrifying. It's just not the way to go.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Spirits sense your purpose, and I think they just will be ignored. They probably sit there and laugh at them for all I know.
Yeah, who knows? Well, hey guys, I really, really appreciate you coming on and talking with me tonight and sharing some of your experiences and your investigations. And where can everybody find your evidence and maybe get a hold of you if they have a problem or just want to chew your ear off for a little bit?
Well, we've got a Facebook page and we have our website that you can get in touch with us through our website, or just drop us something in Facebook. Or if you really have a lot to say, you can get me at Port City Paranormal at yahoo.com.
Our webpage is www.portcityparanormal.com.
Yeah.
Yep. And you guys are very responsive on all of those. I will say that. So if anybody has an issue or wants to suggest anything or even just talk to you guys, like you guys are very responsive. So
Yeah. We do a lot of consults.
Yeah, and Jane will answer her phone. It's 910-200-6563. That's 910-200-6563.
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hey, guys, like I said, I really appreciate you coming on, and I thank you again.
Thank you.
Talk to you again soon.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Good night.
Night, night.
Well, that about does it for Dreamland tonight, dreamers. Thanks again for listening, and good night.